So we got the 259 spoilers, and this chapter is as epic as it is tragic because we are losing a character and gaining another. Yes, Choso is dead. Unfortunately, he dies in this chapter. And Todo returns. Finally, he is back in the story, and it seems like he can actually use his curse technique Boogie Woogie. And we'll get into all of that, but first, coming off of the previous chapter, we saw Sukuna using his domain expansion, which ultimately led him to using his fire arrow, furnace, or Camino, and that was like the cliffhanger. Like, is he gonna kill somebody with it? What's Yuji gonna do? Well, we're gonna find out here. So the chapter begins with Yuji and Choso and Kamo. Yuji asks Choso to teach convergence, but Choso isn't really a good teacher. Kamo clearly explains how blood manipulation and convergence works. Choso says that he can teach Yuji how to use the supernova attack, but Kamo rebukes Choso's suggestion and says Yuji should learn blood manipulation only to know how to stop bleeding and suturing. Choso gets sad and pouts for not being able to teach Yuji. So yeah, this is clearly a flashback to the 1 month time skip before Gojo had fought Sukuna, and we're just getting more into the logistics of how Yuji was able to develop blood manipulation. We knew that he was being taught by Choso, of course, but we didn't necessarily know that he was being taught by Kamo, the other blood manipulation user in the group here. And we also did know that Yuji did, of course, learn blood manipulation to stop his bleeding, because we found out that the unique body that Choso has from him being born like a curse wound death painting from the ancient Noritoshi Kamo that Kenjaku inhabited one day allows him to just convert cursed energy into blood without having to manually do it. And Yuji can essentially do the same thing after eating the curse from death paintings. But now we're getting into the weeds of him learning straight up like attacks with blood manipulation, which we saw that he could do anyway. Yuji also reveals that the second person he swapped with is Yuta Akotsu. Alright, that's pretty wild. That's going into Yui's curse technique as to where he can swap souls between people twice a month. And we knew that there had to be another one. I was saying that it should have been Gojo, but second place, of course, is Akotsu. I'll get more into the speculation about what's going on with Yuji swapping with Akotsu, what he could have learned from that, because I don't think we're going into it in this chapter. So subscribe for my full chapter review, guys. Hopefully I'll have it out tomorrow. I usually go way more into the chapter than I do in these spoilers. But first, let's talk about Raycon everyday earbuds, which you've probably heard me talk about before because I love them, because they're the same audio quality we expect from the big guys at half the price. And if you haven't pulled the trigger on a pair of Raycons, or if you're in the market for another pair, now is the best time to check them out, because they just launched their upgraded model of the best-selling everyday earbuds. The upgraded everyday earbuds offer everything you love about Raycons and more, because now you also get active noise canceling, ergonomic design, and multi-point connectivity that lets you pair with 2 devices at once. So I'm really excited for these new upgraded everyday earbuds, because I've been using the old kind for over a year now, and I use them all the time when I'm editing, doing chores, or hiking, and I love listening to the last podcast on the left with these things. Check them out if you haven't already. They have a lot of cool episodes on a lot of niche sci-fi topics. So guys, click the link in the description box or go to buyraycon.com/Zhoniin to get 20% off your Raycon purchase plus free shipping. Thanks, guys. But anyway, we're coming back to Sukuna firing off the Camino or the furnace or the Fuga fire arrow. And it says only by going through the cooking process of both dismantle and cleave will the door to Camino open. It lacks the speed relative to its fire and has a narrator effect range. To resolve these issues, Sukuna imposed a binding vow upon himself. Okay, This is interesting and a little confusing. Like I said, gonna have to go more into this once we get the full translations for this chapter. But apparently Sukuna can only use Kamino, the fire arrow, once he's used Dismantle and Cleave through his domain, possibly? And once again, Sukuna using them grand old binding vows that we know that he loves to use to get around whatever kind of problems he's having here with using Kamino. Urarame says that it's our win, as the narrator continues to explain that Kamino's heat results in decompression and overpressure, leading to the death of living beings inside the domain. This is Ryoma and Sukuna's ultimate technique that slaughtered Maharaga in one strike. So another interesting thing to point out here is that Urarame saying it's our win. She looks just like Gojo when he said, nah, I'd win. You know, the iconic meme where, of course, he ultimately winds up dying. And I don't think it's a coincidence from Gege here. This probably means that Sukuna is going to lose soon. Due to this, most likely. The narrator explains that during the Gojo fight, Sukuna had to repeatedly change the specifications of his domain, narrowing its effective range, due to which Sukuna deemed it insufficient to unleash Kamino. Thus, Sukuna had to seal it during his fight with Gojo. Okay, so that explains that. If you go back to last year, when the Gojo vs. Sukuna fight was going on, I was constantly talking about, which I'm sure many others were, was like, why isn't Sukuna using the fire arrow, you know, Kamino? It seems like he could have killed Gojo with it, but apparently he felt it was insufficient to unleash because he had to repeatedly change the specifications of his domain, narrowing its effective range. Before the flames could hit Yuji, Choso sacrifices himself and makes a barrier of blood around him to protect Yuji inside. Choso slowly dies as he says, "I'm sorry for being useless during our training." Choso and Yuji are in their imaginary soul world. Choso compliments Yuji for learning reverse curse technique faster than him, and Yuji says that it's due to Sukuna using his body. Did he achieve it? But Choso says it's okay, little brothers are meant to surpass their older brothers. So yeah, this is where Choso dies. And it's not like a fake out or anything, or we're unsure of it. He is definitely dying here. He, in a last-ditch effort, shields Yuji with like a big blood barrier that looks like a closed domain, but in the process completely charring himself from the Kamino arrow. There is more to this sequence where they exchange some dialogue, which is, you know, pretty heartfelt, and we'll go over that in the review. But man, Choso is officially dead, and it sucks because he became one of the better characters in the series for sure. And we kind of knew that it was inevitably going to happen. I mean, he already kind of had like, what, 2 or 3 false deaths up to this point. But still, it would have been nice for him to survive. But no, he is unfortunately the next victim of Sukuna. Back to reality, Choso departs with final words saying, "Thank you, Yuji, for becoming my brother." And Yuji says goodbye to Choso as he finally says, "Thank you, Aniki," which means big brother. As everything crumbles down, Yuji helplessly asks, "Guys, someone." The narrator says Yuji convinced himself that he was a cog. No matter what happened, he was meant to fulfill his role, but as the scorched earth's heat begins to push his way, it shook the foundation of his resolve. The resolve to repay his brother who had sacrificed his life to protect him. Yuji hopelessly sees Sukuna coming towards him, but Aoi Todo once again arrives at the battlefield to help his brother. Alright boys, let's go. Todo is back. Finally. I don't think we've seen him since the end of Shibuya, right? I don't know, maybe he showed up or we saw a panel of him before that. Not really sure, but it's been quite a while. And not only is Todo back, but he has like a hand again, question mark. We know that he lost his left hand in the fight against Mahito, which essentially rendered his curse technique Boogie Woogie useless, which, you know, required him to use a clap in order to activate it. But he's got something. It's all bandaged up. We don't know what's under there. I'm pretty sure it's not being revealed in this chapter, but he can still use his curse technique to some extent, because in a flashback right after this, Todo and Mei plan on how to rescue people trapped inside Sukuna's domain. So by using Mei's crows and Todo's boogie woogie, they can get people outside since Sukuna's domain instantly kills, but Todo can't guarantee their lives, but it's good to try. So yeah, he's been using boogie woogie on the crows to get people out of Sukuna's domain, I guess from the previous chapter when he activated it. Now how is he activating it? Not sure, because Mei says since Todo will be outside of Sukuna's domain, he has to expand his curse technique's range by a lot, so she asks if he can really do it with those arms. And Todo says he's not really sure of succeeding, but he says that he can feel the heart of Boogie Woogie. So yeah, there's definitely something going on with Todo's hand underneath. He might have like a curse hand or something. Or, I don't know, they did something to like give him like a false hand or some kind of like forbidden reverse curse technique or some kind of binding vow or something. But Todo says that he can't let Yuji know of his plan. Yuji and Sukuna were two souls in one body even though it's in the past. That connection itself is strong, so there's a possibility of their plan unknowingly being spilled to Sukuna. The narrator says even though Todo was uncertain of his ally's safety and couldn't manage to move Choso and Yuji outside, both of them were right at the center of the domain. He couldn't explain all this to Yuji, so Todo tries to encourage him by saying, "I'm sorry, brother." But they are, the other sorcerers, probably right. Yuji tries to steal his resolve by thinking the other sorcerers are probably alright, and he has to believe in Todo for now. Yuji and Todo rush towards Sukuna as the narrator reveals that Sukuna is now at a state where it's difficult to use his curse technique after the domain expansion. The path to victory, linked by brothers. Alright, this is amazing. I mean, it's bittersweet because we could have had the trio of Yuji, Choso, and Todo, who are technically brothers. We still don't know why Todo thinks that Yuji is his brother and why he has those memories of them being like in another school together. We still don't know if that's real, or we still don't really know much about Todo, to be honest. But it's still cool to see the duo back because honestly, when they fight together, it's some of the best moments in the series. Like when both of them took on Hanami and Mahito in two separate parts in season 1 and season 2. Incredible stuff. So I'm sure we're going to get that with the trilogy here against Sukuna, but you know, don't forget that this is Sukuna and he very likely could kill Todo as well. But let's hope that doesn't happen. Let me know what you think about this in the comments, guys, and if you liked the video, please give it a like and please subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day. I'll see you in the next one.